Oh, Merry Christmas, everybody. How's it going? Any questions this afternoon? Any kind of question? Yes.
What is the best death?
What is what?
Death.
What is death?
Best.
What?
Death. Best death. Best death.
What? No, I just can't hear what you're saying. What's the best death?
Yeah.
Oh.
Best way of
to
dying. Best way of dying.
Best way to die. Yeah, right. Helping other people.
I didn't hear.
See? Helping other people.
You're ready. You're dying.
Yeah, so usually in Buddhism we think of old age, sickness, and death. You know, they're like our teachers or something. But then you can turn them around so you can use it to help other people. So I guess the best kind of death would be helping other people. But usually we're very attached to life and death, right? That's one of the it's probably the big opposite that you attach to, those two things. So how can you use that to help other beings? I know when I spent a lot of time with Zen Master Musangsa training over the years, and he's always dying, right? He's dying tomorrow. And he always behaves that way too, as if he's dying tomorrow, you know. So we're always under this rushing around trying to get something done before he dies. But that feeling's not special, but what he's doing is feeling his direction, you know, like he's got to get this thing done before he dies, right? It's interesting, before he came to the United States, he was in a hospital in Japan dying, and then this Gosanim, this Korean man, came and gave him the money to fly to the United States. So he's in the hospital dying before he comes to the United States to teach. Wow, that's cool. So that's about direction, you know. So how can you use anything to help this world? And that's what she was talking about. Using your good karma and your bad. Zen Master's Dae Kwang said one thing to you, but Zen Master Sung-san would always say, use your good karma and your bad karma to help all beings. Then it's not your karma, right? So your death is not your death if you're using it to help other people, I guess. Good idea. Does that answer your question? I was thinking about, I used to lead a lot of retreats at Hobeng too. So one time I was leading a retreat there with Chunwan Fasher. So it was a one-day retreat, right? One-day retreat. And there were 125 people at it. And then she said, okay, you're giving interviews. And I said, what? Are you kidding? She said, no, this is no problem. You interview 25 of them, I'll do the other 100. Yeah, and it worked out. It's funny when you come from a country that's not Buddhist, like I come from the United States, right? So everything about Buddhism kind of surprises me, like, huh? Because when I was a kid, I was never around Buddhists. I was raised by German Lutherans, right? So it's about the opposite of Buddhism. So anyway, then you come here and, everything is like different. But that's actually really good. So I was always impressed by Hobeng Tzu, because the teaching there is very clear. There's all these Buddhist people. But then when you start getting into Buddhism, you find, well, Buddhists are trying to escape Buddhism, kind of in a way. In the United States, we're always trying to escape Christianity. It might be a kind of a standard mindset that you use because you're on some kind of journey, and your culture obviously doesn't have the answer, which is just a way of thinking about life as suffering. And then you're looking for something, so you always think the exotic thing is it, right? Until you find out what the exotic thing actually is, and then you think, well, maybe this isn't it. Anyway, I really like the temple there. Any other questions? Yes.
Master Huang Bo said that a great renunciation is like having a lighted candle in front of you. There is no delusion and no enlightenment. So how is that? There's no delusion and no enlightenment.
She already explained that. Looking at the floor at first, whoa, this floor is really boring. And then the picture picks up, right? Because the film's moving along and there's more characters jumping in, the visions are better, wow. And then all that crap goes away and you're just looking at the floor. So that's how that is. There's nothing special going on there. It's just that sometimes human beings go through those things. Not every human being does, but many times it'll happen. I was never one much, I think because I had too much thinking, I was never one much on visions and wonderful things happening and stuff. It's mostly just, oh, this is really boring. But that really boring is a technique, right? So the technique of Kyolche is boredom. So when you're there for 90 days, or maybe you do Kyolches in a row, you get really bored. So this boredom is a technique. Just think about Buddha sitting underneath a tree or whatever he did for 6 years, or Bodhidharma sitting in that little cave up there on Mount Sung. It's really boring. I've been up there 2 or 3 times, and I can't believe he sat in this cave for 9 years. Are you kidding? I didn't even want to stay there for 5 minutes. So that's what happens. You commit yourself to this thing that's impossible, right? Because there is no attainment with nothing to attain, which is kind of interesting teaching. If anybody's listening to that, they'd never come here, right? But you come here out of suffering and seeing other people suffering too, right? So that's what drove the Buddha. I mean, these 3 teachers that he had, old age, sickness, and death, they're pretty unrelenting, no matter how smart you are and how many PhDs you have or whatever. You don't get away from them. So, that's the boredom thing. And like she said, boredom goes through all kinds of different stages. In fact, when you first come here, if you're from Poland, I imagine, or if you're from the United States, when you first come here, the boredom is really interesting. Because, hey, well, Korean boredom, this is great. You got interesting food and the paintings, I mean, this room is nicer than any Zen center we have in the United States. So, that kind of boredom is interesting until it's not. And then this boredom, like she said, it helps calm your mind. Your mind just slows way down. In fact, that boredom is good. It's a major meditation technique. In fact, just think about when they instruct you in how to practice meditation, right away that's going to lead to boredom. There's nothing interesting about meditation. Sorry. Especially after the visions on the floor go away. So then you're just left with, well, what is this? So that's why direction is so important, because without direction, you're going to give up, unfortunately, and then wait for the next time around, if there is a next time around. Of course, in Zen, there's no next time around, so all you got is this. So that's like the ultimate boredom. So usually religions offer you something, right? There's something is held out in front of you, like you can go for this, you know. So in Zen and in Buddhism, we say there's no attainment with nothing to attain. Huh? This is it, right? Or form is emptiness and emptiness is form. Wait a minute. If form is emptiness, that means I'm not going to get crap here, right? But emptiness is form. So, hey, wait, maybe there is something. But then you notice, well, wait a minute, no, there isn't, right? So Buddhism is kind of interesting because it puts out in front of you right away what life is about. Form is emptiness, and emptiness is form. While other religions will hold something out there for you to get, right? You know, like God, you can become one with God, or God will come down and give you something, or God likes you or something. But we're always teaching form is emptiness and emptiness is form. That means there's nothing there. Not so interesting, actually, when you think about it. Or even if you're not thinking about it, it's not so interesting. So we practice this letting go, letting go, letting go, letting go. While other kinds of religions will hold something out, like there's something there, like you're going to meet God or Jesus or somebody. So this emptiness means that there's no eternal, self-existing thing. So that's interesting. Instead, it's emptiness, which doesn't mean empty like we think about it. Empty, at least in the English language, if you say the word empty, or in Chinese, gong, it means there's no self-existing eternal thing. It doesn't mean things are empty. So everybody wants something, right? Even spiritually, they want something. Like you want enlightenment or something, right? So I get this wonderful job. I get to beat that idea out of you. And I get to beat it out of myself, too. So that's cool. So everybody comes away kind of like, huh? Or not satisfied? Or, wait, did I see God or not? Or was that an angel? Or what were those visions on the floor, you know? So you can make something out of anything to satisfy your idea that you should be getting something. But Buddha said you already have it. Huh? You already have it? Then what in the heck am I doing here? But then he continued and said, but people don't understand that, because they don't understand it, they suffer. So the suffering that all human beings experience come from the fact that they don't understand what they actually are. Because they're always looking for something, right? And maybe you think you can get it by attacking another country. You know, that happens all the time. I come from the United States, we're attacking countries all the time. So, but what do you ever get, you know? So if you look closely at that, that's boring, because you start to say, oh, wait, I don't get anything. But then, boom, oh, wait a minute, this is great. I'm actually something else, except this I am is not a thing. So that's why, like Buddhism and Taoism, they emphasize some kind of doing in this moment. The other day I was reading, tell me if I'm saying this right. His name is Wei Ke. He's the second patriarch, studies with Bodhidharma. So when he gets enlightenment, he and Bodhidharma are walking up this mountain in China. It's called Few Houses Peak. So they're walking up the mountain. And Bodhidharma is the older guy, so he's in front. And then Wei Ke is in the back. And Bodhidharma turns around and looks at him and says, "Where are we going?" And Wei Ke is a clever person. He's the second patriarch. So he says, "Master, please, straight ahead, that's it." Then Bodhidharma says, "If that's the way it is, we can't even take one step." Then, Wei Ke actually gets enlightenment when Bodhidharma says that. So that's interesting. That's a koan, by the way. So he says, if that's the way it is, we can't even take one step. So one thing that points to, I'm not going to tell the answer to the koan, but one thing that it points to is there's nothing that anybody can say that you're going to get that's going to make you happy about what the hell you're doing at this moment. Right? That's your job. So actually, somebody like me, I'm actually off the hook because I'm a teacher, but there's nothing for me to teach, right? There's no attainment with nothing to attain. So what am I going to tell you? Well, there's nothing for me to tell you. So everything comes down to your self-commitment in this moment to what's going on. That's what makes retreats happen, right? So you can beat people with sticks, right? Oh, you do it all the time. You can do all kinds of stuff. But in the end, it's you. And it's your vow, your energy, your direction, your question, which leads to some realization or attainment or something. There's all kinds of words for it, but they're all wrong. So what is that? So that's why direction and actually practicing with other people is quite important, because it keeps this whole thing about direction right in front of you, and it's the most important thing. Of course, that's why we practice Mahayana Buddhism, which is associated with Bodhisattva, the Bodhisattva way. So when Bodhidharma says, if that's the way it is, we can't even take one step, how could you answer? Interesting. So this koan is also a technique that we use to, keep us going without burdening you with another explanation about the way things are, because they're all wrong. Right? So it points to this true self. So Zen is always about finding your true self and helping the world. So this commitment is not about you, it's about helping the world. That's the long and short of it. Any other questions? Yes.
My girlfriend back in Israel, she has lots of ups and downs. And she's not really into Zen or meditation or some kind.
Right.
And sometimes I find myself that I'm not clear about how I can help her. And, I can say, no, it's okay, it will pass. It doesn't work. So my question is, what can I do when I'm not clear about what to do?
What to do? Yeah, exactly. That's the human condition right there. What to do about what to do when you don't know what to do. So, Yeah, most important is inside you, your direction and your mind. But then you have to do it in a particular context. Like married, you're not married though, right? But for example, married people have that problem all the time because the wife wants to do this and the husband wants to do that. I mean, it's a story as old as time. And then one of them is a Zen practitioner and one of them isn't. Or one is 95%, the other one is 10%, or the other one is 35%, and you're 15% on this particular day, right? So this is always happening. So usually what happens is you get in trouble because you get attached to a particular style or doing a particular thing, like, sorry, dear, I have to go to the Zen center, and then dear says, wait a minute, your daughter's birthday is on Saturday night. You can't go to the Zen center. So everybody gets attached to some kind of thing there. So the big thing is keeping your direction inside clear and not dependent on any circumstance. So how do you do that? I don't know. But practicing, then you find out, well, you can't be attached to anything. So then you have to help this other person, and you're committed to them in a particular kind of way. You might be married, you might be living together, you might work together. So that's the together action part of it. And it's the hardest part is this isn't about you, it's about other people. And then how you define your relationship to these other people, there's jillions of definitions for that relationship. Like, how do you relate to your mother? Or how do you relate to your illegitimate kid? I don't know. So you have to figure out, how do you, we talk very abstractly, find your true self and help the world. Oh, that sounds so good. Except here we are. Oh, there's a French woman sitting next to me. What am I going to do? So, it comes down to right on the basic level. So this thing about Wei Ke, walking up this mountain behind Bodhidharma, it's very down to earth, but he's thinking in big ideas, and then boom, he gets smacked. So the kongans are kind of a way to bring you down to earth in a before thinking kind of way. So that before thinking kind of way is not attached to anything. So that's the way to actually relate to people. Once you start getting attached to, he's Malaysian, I can see it from here. And then I just don't like Malaysian people. Right? Then everything becomes suffering again because you bring it down to, and then how do you let go of that and help them, right? So, I don't know. Maybe if you're going to keep that girlfriend, you give up on Zen. I mean, Zen is just a teaching style. It's not important. So, how do you use this moment with this stuff to help the world in this moment, right? So that's what Bodhidharma is asking Wei Ke there. And that's what we ask ourselves, moment to moment to moment in our life, so we can wake up and actually help. And we're one of those people we have to help. This is probably the hardest person to help, the one who's living inside your own body with you. So that's why we practice, so we can let go, let go, let go, let go. But it's not about letting go, it's about how do I help? So Buddha completely lets go, then he just keeps sitting underneath the tree. Because when you completely let go, wow, this is great. Thank God, all that, the girlfriend's gone, the job's gone, being a monk is gone. And then you realize you actually have to help people, and you do that in a particular context. So that's when you have to pick it up and carry it away, right? So that's why we practice, so that we can realize that. That's all I know. That's what we're doing. So you just have to be clear about that and not attach to any of this stuff, right? So this is Korean Buddhism, but I don't really like Korean Buddhism. I only like Japanese Buddhism. So that's the source of suffering. So you got to let go of all that stuff so that your true loving heart can appear and you can actually help people, whether they're from Hong Kong or used to live in Singapore or live in Germany, right? Or Israel. Yeah. So that's hard because all those situations they involve attachments to stuff, you know. And then in that context, that's where we jump in and try to help people. Good luck. So that's why you have to be strong. Like this Zen master Sung is lying in a hospital dying, and he gets on a plane and goes to the United States. I mean, that's incredible. Just that action, you know. Incredible. That's why I started listening to what he said. Well, I don't know. Then you have to do something. Any other questions? I'm sorry, did I answer your question in the midst of all of that?
I once heard you say a story about a Zen master saying something about welcome, like welcome the problem or something. Right. Can you say that again?
So, a monk asks Unmun, when old age, sickness, and death come, how can we avoid them? In other words, when suffering comes, how can we avoid it? And Unmun said, welcome, right? So it's not about avoiding anything, it's about letting go and helping. So that's different. Usually we're running around, at least I am, running around trying to have a good situation, you know. Is the coffee good? This cream is really crappy. You know, your brain is doing all that kind of stuff all the time. And then you're supposed to let go and not attach to anything and help the world. So how do you do that? So usually we're attached to our like and our dislike minds. That's natural. And you have some kind of idea of you, right? So those are the three forms of ignorance. Then how do you let go of that and then use that to help the world? So that comes from your direction, actually. So it's not about, somehow escaping everything by moving to a Zen monastery. It's about finding your true self and helping the world. So this is just a particular technique. But people will attach to the technique, and then the technique isn't a technique anymore. It's a form of attachment. That's why the Buddha and everybody else always had trouble explaining. I'm tripping all over my words here because it's beyond, it's not, you're always thinking in dualistic terms, but you have to let go of those dualisms, whatever they are, Singaporeans versus Malaysian versus Singaporeans. So you're always attaching to these things. In the midst of that, you have to actually let go and help people. So that can be difficult for human beings. Yes?
Sometimes when helping people, it's like attached to help.
Yeah, right, exactly.
How do you ensure that you help correctly?
Right, by just doing it. Right. So helping people are also teaching words that you don't want to attach to. So the way you actually help is by becoming one. Right? So we want to go out for coffee. Okay, let's go over to Paya Lebar there. It's right by Marine Parade, and we can get some really good coffee there. Okay?
Sure.
Okay. So, it's not anything special. It's about becoming one. But we use these big words to talk about something that is difficult for a lot of people to do, but actually quite simple. It's this become one. Boom. So then you say, oh, well, wait, there's something wrong with that idea. Become one. How can I become one when I'm separate? Okay, 100% become separate.
Or how do I know that I have become one with that?
Right. Then you're dead. Right. Yeah, so that's just, you have to understand thinking, whatever that means, and then you let go of it and you use it. Right? So you use your good karma and your bad karma to help the world. So, sorry. That's why we use Kongan, Kongan is a quite interesting style of teaching because you have to become one with this seemingly artificial situation, and then the answer is to just do it given those circumstances. So you're kind of like it's a kind of practice where you become one with this stupid situation, and hidden in that stupid situation is something to do. So it's quite clever. I know why people borrow that from Taoism, clever teaching technique. Any other questions? Yes.
In order to become one, you need to separate first, right?
What?
In order to become one, you need to separate first, right?
Right. Exactly. So no matter what you say, it's wrong. You just want to pick some relatively good things to say, so that when you become one with it, the way I think about it is there are conceptual ways of pointing towards something. So Zen teaching and even Buddhism teaching is not explaining anything to you. So usually you think about, some priest or something is explaining to you about suffering and going to hell or going to heaven, blah, 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 right? So, actually, the big problem with that is that it has this eternal, self-existing thing in that style of teaching. But Kongan doesn't have that. So it's about becoming one with this thing that, as you point out, you're already one with. So it's more, maybe a better way to say it is you return to what you already are. So in Buddhism, we always say, well, you already are Buddha. You just don't understand that, which means you never were separate. You just think you were separate. Okay, wow, that's a great way to explain it, right? But of course it's wrong, but it's cool. It's a cool way to say it. So yeah, you're right. No matter what I say, it's wrong. And no matter what you say about it too, it's wrong. So, welcome. Any other questions that I can't answer? So the most important thing is you came here with an intention to do something, then you do it. And you try to stay awake. So the intensive means added on, right? What did you say the word was?
Equally.
Yeah, it means
add on or extend.
extended, right? So it's like you have this idea of practice, like maybe your practice is 30 seconds a day I'm going to keep the Wato. Okay, 30 seconds is up, and then I go on my way, right? And then you do this Yongmen Junjin, what'd you say it was? What?
No sleep practice.
No, it's something Yongmen Junjin. What are the first two words?
Literally.
Yeah.
Yongming is like.
No, before that you said there was something. This is called something else. Ki Wong Yongmen Junjin or Kaheng. Thank you. Sorry. So yeah, it's extended. So now we move from 30 seconds a day to doing a really hard practice where we do it a minute a day. So that's the added on part. So these 7 days are the added on part. And I don't know why, but we stick it right in the middle rather than at the end, but that has to do with the lunar calendar. But we put it in the middle in the United States too when we're using the solar calendar. Anyway, just do it. Then you get it. Thinking, you get a headache. Okay? And you all know about that, yeah. So, thank you for coming in and practicing. Do it.